Well, good morning. Oh, come on, we got coffee here. Good morning.
Morning.
All right, we need that enthusiasm. We got a little event coming up in November. An event that we can't lose. Well, that's actually not true. We could lose it if we do the same thing we did in 2010 and a red wave washes over this country and we get more Wisconsins, more Ohios, more Indianas. And it goes up to Maine and down to Florida. Make no mistake about it, brothers and sisters. This is the most important election of our lifetime. We're at a historical crossroads whereby the choice isn't simply whether or not we elect a Democrat or Republican. The choice is about what the future is for our children and our grandchildren. Bet you haven't heard me say stuff like that before, huh? And I do say that, and you've probably heard other people talk about the fact that this is the most important election ever. It's true. It's always true. We've seen public sector unions attacked across this country. But those of you in the private sector shouldn't feel too bad. We got ours in the 80s, in the 90s. They decimated the the private sector union density. We're down about 7%. Those of you in the building trades understand if you got 7% of the market, that probably getting a visit from your international representative, because they like to have a little bigger market share than that. The reality here is if we don't change the path that we're on right now, that maybe our great-grandkids will reinvent the labor movement because they're going to wipe us out. And they've been doing it since 1964 when there were 4 red states. Only 4 red states when Johnson beat Goldwater, scared the living crap out of the folks on the other side. And they have a lot of money. And they're not stupid. They might be evil, but they are not stupid. What they are about is making sure that they continue to have the ability to amass great personal wealth and the hell with the rest of us. That's what they've always been about. I was reading the headlines the other day about police attacking workers. Oh, wait a minute. That was the history books. They've been doing that to us for 200 years in this country. They've been beating us, they've been shooting us, they've stacked the courts against us. And because it worked so well in the 1800s and the 1900s, they're doing it today too. The reason I raise the historical reference is because the stuff we are facing today is not new, it's not unusual, it's the same old stuff they've been doing to us throughout the history of this country. And yet we're still here. Now I know many of you work a full-time job in addition to doing union business. A lot of us who have the privilege of working full-time for the labor movement, probably maybe after your first year, first term, you got it figured out it's really not a 9-to-5 job. I'm sure if you ask my wife, she'd say, who? Because I don't get home all that often. Sometimes she calls and says, hey, are you coming home tonight? Well, the reality is we do what we do because we believe in here that what we're doing is the right thing for working people. And I say working people because it's not all about union people. The stuff we do, the stuff that Charlie, the stuff that Marcia and other lobbyists go up there and fight with those folks under the Gold Dome, it's not just union stuff. It's the fundamental rights of people to have the opportunity to engage in their workplace, in a democratic organization, the ability to have rights in the workplace to make sure that when you go to work, you go home. If you don't have a job, there's a safety net there to make sure you don't lose your house, and you can still feed your kids. The folks on the other side don't really care about message well enough. We're doing something about that. Lance Coles is in the back of the room. Wave your hand, Lance. Lance is our new communications director, and we've got, I don't even know what half this crap is, but Pinterest, YouTube channels, Facebook, Twitter. I still haven't figured that one out either. But you know what? Every vehicle of communication that's out there we have to use, because there are people out there who aren't hearing the message, or they're not hearing it often enough, and that's going to change. We absolutely must make sure that what we are doing and what we are about is heard and understood by the general public, because there are not enough union members anymore. We're working on that issue too, trying to spread the base of the Federation out amongst those who have not as yet seen fit to affiliate. We absolutely need to engage our community partners, whether it's some of the folks at the tables outside, ICAM, CCI, the Alliance for Retired Americans. We're working within the labor movement with the next generation folks, so that the next up people have an opportunity to engage themselves in local unions and central labor councils. We need to make sure that we have the opportunities available to bring the next generation along, because let's face it, folks, they're going to be running the labor movement, so we want them to be educated, have had experiences and opportunities to step in and hit the ground running, because we can't pause anymore. We need to make sure that our message about who is running, where they stand on the issues, is communicated. Many of you have worked many hours in the political programs, and I thank you for that. And we're going to come back to that well and ask for another helping of your time, of your talent, of your effort. And one other thing, we need more volunteers. I understood that pretty early at my local, because first year I was there, I asked the same people to do a whole bunch of stuff. They'd serve on the apprenticeship committee, they'd serve on the safety committee, and I lost a couple people because I wasn't smart enough then to realize that you got to spread it out so that there are more people involved. It was a hard lesson to learn, because I lost some good people, but we got a lot more out of the deal in the long run, and that's what I'm asking you to do, because there's not enough of us in this room right now to win this election. But there are enough of us in your union halls, in your shops, at your job sites, to make a difference. We know that if we do our job, we win elections. Since 1996, when they started with the Labor 1996 program, and every 2 years thereafter, we've increased our percentages of participation in general elections. From 1998 to 2008, we've averaged 23%. Think about that number. 23% of the people voting came from unions or union households. That's an amazing number. 2010, however, we were 17%. Remember the 10 election? Remember what happened? We lost control of the Iowa House. A lot of us were frustrated with that former governor. How do you like the one we got now? Well, we need to get people back in the program. When we contact our members 7 or more times, we get 74% of them voting for the endorsed candidates. That's an astounding number. Now, when I send a letter out to them, they go, who in the hell is Ken Sagar? That sounds like my wife. Here's the deal. You need to talk politics. The local unions in this room and across this state, your members, you may not think so at times, but they listen to what you talk about. They understand that we need to talk about politics when it's up close and personal to them. When someone that they trust, you talk to them about your contracts, right? You talk to them about grievances, about arbitrations, and they believe you. We need to talk about politics. You need to talk about politics. The Labor 2012 program is based on a grassroots program that really does what these symbols and signs on the wall say. It's putting feet on the street. We're doing a bundling program in the not too distant future next week to put money into the pockets of endorsed candidates. And if your council, your local, whoever wants to participate, send us the checks. We'll send them out in a big envelope to the candidates. But the reality is our envelopes are not as big as their envelopes and never will be. They have a lot more money than we do, and they always will. But the feet on the street, that's what we're supposed to be good at. And we proved that in Senate District 18. Many of you put time in that race, and we made a difference. We took a 46% performing Senate district and got 56% of the vote. And that's astounding, and that's a compliment to the work that many of you in this room did. From the AFSCME, IBEW, unaffiliated unions, communities, alliance partners. We had a lot of people there. I recognize a number of you in the room. Danny Holman put an excellent team together, and AFSCME committed a lot of resources there. IBEW 405 put a lot of time in. Scott Smith sitting back there, didn't see him on the street, but he was painting signs. I would say feverishly, but he was moving a little slow because he had his template on there. He did a hell of a job. A lot of people did a hell of a job. We lost that election on election day. But because of the work that we did going into that election, we won because we had a 3,500 vote margin on the absentee ballots. Our programs work. Betty will be talking about 2012. Lance will be talking about communications programs. The Labor Center will be bringing up classes to give you opportunities to figure out, how do I get more people involved? How do I get more volunteers involved? How do we talk about Obamacare? Because that's an issue out there that beat us with. This whole convention really is going to be focused on what we need to do in the next 100 days or so, because it really is a crossroads in history. Whether or not we continue to give to those who have much and take away from those who have little, or whether we say that, no, you're not on your own, we're in this together. And that's the difference between the 1% and us. I saw something on Facebook the other day that was kind of fascinating. The question was, why is Bernie Madoff the only person out of all this Wall Street crap that's gone on, and all the banks and all the economic crisis, why is Bernie Madoff the only one in prison? Because he stole from the 1%. That's really true, if you think about it. Because it's okay to steal from workers through their pension funds getting robbed by the economic crisis. It's okay that cities and counties and state pension funds lost money. No, it's not. Our grandparents and great-grandparents lived through a depression brought about by the greed and excess of corporate persons and the real people who own them. And they put all kinds of regulations on corporations to stop that from happening again. And collectively, our memory isn't very good, because we forgot all about those rules and why we put them in place. And Glass-Steagall ended about 10 years ago, a little more. And all of a sudden, the banks are out acting like our investments, our dollars, are their money to play with casinos. None of them have gone to jail for what they did. We're causing this untold destruction of people's retirements, of people losing homes, of children not being able to go to college. Are we going to stand for that anymore?
No.
Are we?
No.
Will you stand on the street with us this fall?
Yes.
Will you stand in front of your members and tell them about politics? And it's not about the stuff on TV. It's about your neighbors. It's about your friends, and it's about your kids. It's about an opportunity this country used to represent. The opportunity for each generation to give to the next a better opportunity. We cannot be the generation that lets that slip away, brothers and sisters. Make the commitment today to spend the next 100 days turning the TV off, because we don't need reality TV shows. We need people engaged in reality. Take a couple hours a week to make the commitment to walk on the street, knock on the doors. We've got candidates who need some help. And as much as I love to see all the volunteers the last 2 days of the campaign, 100 people the last 2 days won't win that campaign. Give us some relief staff so we can knock on Shelley's doors, so that we can knock on Chris Hall's doors, so that we can knock on doors of endorsed candidates across this state, so that we can keep the Senate, take back the House, re-elect our congressional people, and put President Obama back in the White House.